Welcome on over to Automotive World, everyone. I'm your host, Vinay Mystery, and tonight we have some news regarding the 2025 Honda Civic Si. And the Honda Civic Si is getting some new tech, some new features, including even some improved dynamics. Let's get right into this. Let's cover this press release. Let's see everything we have, including pricing, and let's ultimately give our thoughts at the end. And let's see what we have here. And this is actually going to be a pretty short press release here. Honda here has done some stuff. They do talk about for the Civic Si, some of the new gains are the new design with the more aggressive front fascia. That also gives us a new grille, revised taillights, and a new wheel design, which we will go over some of those pictures they provided us. They also do have now driver-focused tech, including the LED shift indicator light and Google built-in. Now, the LED shift indicator light, this isn't necessarily something new to Honda. Honda has generally always done this on the Type Rs, but for this to come to the Si, especially to be able to get it from the factory rather than have to do it aftermarket, really cool thing to see. And they talk about here, and they do have a little bit of a point, but the Civic Si is the only car in its class exclusively available with a manual transmission, catering to those enthusiast buyers. Now, yes, that's true, but also at the same time, we know that the new Jetta, as we did cover that a while ago, the current one has that manual. Now, we do know that the new GLI also has that manual. So this is a bit interesting because the Jetta GLI and the Civic Si have always, to me, they've competed in the same class. They're compact sedans. They can be used as family sedans, but they're the more sporty types. They have a little bit more pedigree in them. They're a little bit more thoroughbred. They're a little bit more exciting. So, yes, Honda's saying that it's only coming with a manual. They have a point, but at the same time, there are still other models, other vehicles that do kind of compete with the Si size-wise, price-wise. They give you a lot more that also have a manual, including the GLI, and maybe... And this is a bit overkill because of the power output, but when you look at the price and the size, you could maybe even throw a launcher N in there. So that's a little bit, we'll put that on the side there because that's a little iffy, but it's interesting Honda says that. That being said, though, we talk about that new front fascia. Let's look at some of the photos that we have right here. So here's a really good photo. We can kind of see that new front fascia here. Now, this is, it still looks relatively the same, right? But we can see the new fascia, it's a little bit sharper. We can kind of see the angling and all that here. It's really not that bad here. Let's come over to those revised tail lights that they talk about. So we can see here that we do have some newer revised tail lights. It doesn't look too bad there. Let's go on over to another picture that we would have of them. We can get one a little bit clearer. We can see the new wheel design there. I like this new wheel design. I think it looks really nice, especially in that black there. Let's come back over here. We can see that new taillight design. Like I said, I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks pretty good. I didn't really have a problem with the older one, however, I will say. But I don't think it looks bad at all. We can see the interior picture here. Unfortunately, we're just looking at this on the web preview, so, it hasn't fully downloaded. But it's a really nice looking interior. I think it's a very premium looking interior for what this car is. That being said, though, let's get into pricing, because this is huge. Ultimately, this is what most people purchase a car based off of, which isn't necessarily the wrong thing to do. You have to buy what's within your means, or, obviously what you want to spend. Now, obviously here, they give us two pricings, one that is with MSRP, one that is MSRP with destination charge, and the EPA fuel ratings, which are both the same for both of these vehicles. 27 city, 37 highway, 31 combined. Pretty good for the class. Both using the 1.5 liter turbo engine, front wheel drive, manual only. The SI trim is going to be $29,950. If you add that $1,095 destination fee, it's $31,045. And if you get the SI with the summer tires, it's $30,250 MSRP or $31,345 with the destination fee. Keep in mind, this doesn't also include, sorry about that, folks, camera just shut off there. Keep in mind, this also doesn't include things like, dealer markups, tax, tag, title. This isn't going to, if you're financing this vehicle, if you're not on 0%, this is not going to include things like that. So this is not going to be your full buyout price. There's so many other charges that can be tacked on to this, but this is the MSRP that we have right now. Now, Honda has said here what they have done. They haven't necessarily done any power stuff. So in terms of the horsepower, 200 horsepower, that remains the same, down from the previous generation 5 horsepower. 192 pound-feet of torque. Through a limited slip diff, still using the VTEC 1.5-liter turbo engine with that 6-speed short-throw manual. That is all the same. Now, Honda has retuned the diff and a little bit of the transmission for different type of points at where where your gear shifting is going to be. Honda has done things with the chassis itself and power to weight ratio. So that is to improve not only the body structure, suspension improvements, but ultimately, as they call, class-leading riding comfort. They do talk about things that they've done here with the body itself, with the lower B pillar and the rear door, how that's going to increase support and torsional bending rigidity. That all leads to, better handling. Obviously, you don't want a car when you're going to be using it for handling with a lot of roll and things. You want everything to be, very stiff. You want to feel what you're feeling when you do it on the road. You want to make sure okay, this is where it is. You don't want to be overhanging somewhere. So Honda has talked about the increased body stiffness, especially with the SI suspension dampers. It is interesting that they mention class leading comfort, because obviously generally when you make a car stiffer, it usually doesn't relate to comfort, but Honda is still confident that the comfort of the SI is still there, which is still very important, because ultimately, this is a fun car, but this is still a family vehicle. I do apologize for the weather, by the way, guys, so if the camera does go out again, we will be back in just a millisecond here. And like I said earlier, Honda has done some shifts, some timing. They have done some enhancements with the actual shifting itself in terms of shift timing and things. Obviously, you can see here from second to first, the rev matching system has been changed a little bit, so it'll detect those downshifts. They do talk about, as quick as 430 millisecond response time. So Honda has done some upgrades here. They haven't necessarily added anything. They haven't added any horsepower or anything. I would love to see Honda, add more horsepower, especially when the competition is giving so much more. But Honda has touched the internals here, and really what they've done is they've revised and essentially they've retuned it. Which isn't a bad thing. It's always good to keep improving, but I would really love to see a little bit more from Honda here. In terms of the brake size and the tire size, all-season performance tires or the optional summer tires, and we have the sizing here for those. The SI does come with the larger brakes than the standard Civic sedan, obviously, as it should. It's no surprise there. It's always happened. We talk about the design as we saw that earlier with those LEDs and things. And then the tech here. So we look at the tech. 9-inch touchscreen, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto here, Google integration built in for the first time, USB-C ports in the front. We have that new LED shift indicator light, so if you don't know when to shift, now you know when to shift, which is never a bad thing. Obviously, Honda does talk about the comfort here. The stabilizing sport seats are now heated, built-in head restraints, things like that. We do have high-quality knurled knobs for the climate control system, so obviously Honda is still focusing on knobs and buttons, which is really, really important at a time like this when, personally, I'm not a fan of touch capacitive buttons in the cars. Phones, I don't mind at all, but the cars, not really that big on them. Obviously, we have things like the contrast stitching and the steering wheel, things like that. Typical stuff, the honeycomb dash trim, which we saw earlier. It looks really, really nice. The SI is going to come with a standard moonroof. Really, really nice to see that. 12-speaker Bose premium audio system. It's a system that Honda has also been using for a long time. A lot of people have been using Bose systems for a long time in cars. They've got good systems. They don't tell us exactly what the wattage is, but it is a 12-speaker. It is a Bose system. So if you are a music person, it's going to sound pretty good. Way better than what a traditional, just standard out of the box stereo is. And then obviously Honda is going big on Google's built-in integration, so things like Google Assistant, Google Maps, Google Play. You're gonna get 3 years of unlimited data plan on that complimentary. Obviously, this is gonna allow you to, like I said, listen to music, listen to those podcasts, ask for maps and directions, route, use it as a smart assistant, things like that. They talk about that here, podcasting, using the favorite media apps and things like that. Something, that's always good to have. I think for most people, if they have Apple CarPlay and things, they'll probably be fine. But hey, 3 years complimentary on Honda, nothing wrong with something complimentary for 3 years. Nothing wrong with that at all. And then obviously we've got Honda's safety sensing suite here. Most manufacturers obviously are now doing some sort of safety suite here. Honda's is pretty good for a standard suite. It is pretty comprehensive. So you get the basic stuff. Collision mitigation braking. You get things like adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, the blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning. All that typical stuff that we expect from a modern vehicle. Overall, let's break it down into this video. What are the thoughts on the new SI? I think the pricing, it is still, compared to even the Jetta GLI, it is the cheapest one kind of in the class right now. So I think the pricing isn't bad. I think the car looks good on the outside. I think it looks good on the inside. It's very nice quality. The only thing I would love to see from Honda, and if that means make it a little more expensive, make it a little bit more expensive. Keep this base trim though too, but I really would love to see Honda compete horsepower wise. Theirs are just down on power. The Jetta GLI is pushing 228 horse and it's pushing more torque. The Elantra N is pushing even more than that. I really would love to see Honda compete like that, because Elantra N is competing essentially on all 3 levels. Volkswagen is competing almost all 3 levels with the Jetta GLI, the Golf GTI, and then obviously the Golf R. So it would be really nice if I could see Honda come back and give us a little bit more power. But I think the car is cool. I mean, it's something, it's a cool car. I have nothing against it. Just power-wise, it wouldn't be my first choice, but it's definitely a car that was like, if I bought it, if I had to buy it, I would be happy with it. So I think it's a great car, honestly. That's going to do it for now, though. Those are my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys and girls think down below. This is going to do it for now. Like always, thanks for watching, everyone.